by the end of Saturday night in college football, we saw a total of 6 ranked teams take losses in Week 9, some impactful losses as well. As you take a look at our latest college football power rankings, according to our own Brandon Marcello, you'll notice no LSU. They drop out after both firing their head coach Brian Kelly last night and losing to undefeated Texas A&M. A&M there at number 4 behind Alabama, who has a few losses on their schedule. Number 1, Indiana, Kurt Cignetti continues to do his thing, and the defending champs there at 2. For much more on this, let's go ahead and say hello to our own Danny Kanell and the creator of this list, our own Brandon Marcello. Guys, let's start off at the top here. And Danny, I want to come to you first. How are you feeling about Alabama being ahead of 3, or being at 3 ahead of undefeated Texas A&M?
So this one jumped out to me, Brandon, as somebody out there kind of taking that leap of faith on Bama. Now, if you said who do you think is better, I could maybe make a case for Alabama, but I think you have to look at Texas A&M, the body of work they're starting to accumulate, including their recent most impressive win on the road with that dominant win, which sent Brian Kelly packing after they were able to go into Baton Rouge at night. This team looks like the total package. They've got the best pass rusher in the conference coming off the edge. They've got an offense which looks like it can win in multiple ways. They've got, Marcel Reed starting to finally get some love in the Heisman conversation. They can run the football. So I think Texas A&M looks the part. And I think what's interesting about Alabama, of all the one-loss teams, not just going against this undefeated Texas A&M game, we seemingly just overlook their loss, which is by far the worst loss of anybody that has one loss that is in this conversation, with that first game against Florida State. Seemingly everyone just sort of say, oh, that was a different team way back then, which I don't think is fair or accurate, because we did see them stumble somewhat against South Carolina. I'm very, very curious to see if Alabama slips up on the road to the finish, or if they're 11-1 lock into the playoff. 10-2, they're probably still in, but I would say Texas A&M to me is the more complete resume and the more complete team.
Oh, Danny. If we're actually looking at resume, you're completely off base. And the reason why I say that is because A&M has 2 wins against ranked opponents. One of those opponents is no longer ranked, and they don't have a head coach. That was LSU. Alabama's won 4 straight games against nationally ranked teams since that loss to Florida State. Yes, they struggled against South Carolina, but once again, Ty Simpson and co. have been gamers on the road in tight games and pull out victories. Georgia, Mizzou, now South Carolina. So you add that up along with the 4 straight wins against ranked opponents, which, by the way, 2 of those opponents have either improved upon their ranking or stayed the same since getting beat by Alabama. Alabama has the much more robust resume than Texas A&M. And yes, Alabama is a different team than it was in Week 1, and the body of work shows that.
Well, I know Danny welcomes Alabama to prove him wrong. That's for sure. We'll see if they can keep things rolling. Next up, a home game against LSU. Let's get to the ACC. How about undefeated Georgia Tech representing the ACC ahead of Miami to round out the top 10, Brandon?
Yeah, listen, they're undefeated. They're playing well. I think Haynes King is not getting enough love out there. I think he should be in the Heisman Trophy conversation. I keep hearing people comparing him to Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, and everybody seems to be enthralled by Diego, and they should. He's a fantastic player, and a big reason why Vanderbilt is going the way they are right now and in a playoff conversation. But Haynes King is equally, if not more impressive, if you look at his numbers and what he's done at Georgia Tech this season during this incredible streak. You see what he did against Syracuse this past weekend, scoring 5 total touchdowns, putting up nearly 400 yards of total offense. The guy's an absolute gamer, has Georgia Tech rolling. He's one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in all of the country and at any position. He should be in the Heisman Trophy race. And because of their resume and the way they've been playing lately, and they haven't stumbled at home like Miami did against an unranked Louisville team, I've got Georgia Tech just above Miami in my power rankings.
You are so right about Haynes King. What drives me insane is that if he had a Netflix documentary this offseason, if he was guaranteeing wins, if he was wearing gold chains and had celebrity friends and a former Heisman as his hype man, he probably would be in this conversation. But all he does is he stays humble. He goes out there and takes care of his business. 19 total touchdowns on the season, just 1 interception. I think he carries this team as much or more than Diego Pavia does. And they are a team that has a very clear identity of what they want to do. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch and see if Georgia Tech opens up the offense a little bit. I thought they let him go in there a little bit longer against Syracuse to try to get those stats up. It shouldn't be a statistical award, but we all know it does. And when you look at his passing touchdowns, they don't exactly resonate with just 7, including 3, which came this past weekend. But I totally agree with you. I think Haynes King needs to take very seriously for the Heisman, and keep an eye on that Georgia game. Last game of the season. Granted, they have to take care of business against NC State, Boston College, and Pitt, but that Georgia game, I think it still just rubs Brent Key the wrong way that they lost in 9 overtimes after it looked like a win. That game will be one that will absolutely be circled on Georgia Tech's calendar.
Quite the start for the Yellow Jackets, 8-0 on the season. Let's get to the Big 12, you guys. Conference that always keeps us on our toes. And hello, Cincinnati, quietly emerging as a contender here. Danny, where are you at right now with the Big 12?
I like Cincinnati a ton. By the way, speaking of Heisman candidates, Brendan Sorsby is somebody that with Haynes King gets some love, Diego Pavia gets some love. No one has been giving Brendan Sorsby any type of love for the season that he is putting together. He's got over 20, I think he has 27 total touchdowns now on the season with 1 interception. Most importantly, their only loss of the season came that week 1 opener versus Nebraska in Arrowhead Stadium, a game that he had over 100 yards rushing, and it was 1 possession short, 1 bad play, or else they could be undefeated. I know they're underdogs this weekend against Utah, but Scott Satterfield has done a phenomenal job keeping the Cincinnati team going. They're very physical up front. Everyone's in love with BYU, myself included. I think BYU should be the top-ranked team, but keep an eye out on Cincinnati to be one of the last teams standing because their quarterback is as special as it gets.
Yeah, most definitely. I love the speed on the outside that Sorsby's able to utilize at receiver. This is a team that can be explosive when it needs to. They play good defense in very good spots. My concern for them down the stretch here, which obviously is not reflected in the current power rankings, my concern is that the most difficult part of the schedule is this part here in the last 4 games. You have to go to Utah this weekend, which is the game of the week. You still have to play BYU, which is at the top of the Big 12 standings alongside Cincinnati right now. You also have to play Arizona, which is sneaky good at times, and you have to go to TCU. All 4 of these games, I hate to say, are losable, but they're also winnable for Cincinnati. And I can see any one of those 4 games going either way for them because the first part of their schedule, not to say it's been easy, but their marquee win right now has been against Iowa State, which has been trending downward here of late.
All right. Lastly here, no surprise that the LSU Tigers fall out of your top 25 power rankings, Brandon, after suffering a loss to Texas A&M, dropping to 5-3 on the season, firing their head coach, Brian Kelly. Where does this team go from here, Brandon?
I think they're going to be a little bit more rejuvenated. But Brian Kelly was not a lovable figure in that locker room. Frank Martin, their new interim head coach here, the running backs coach there, he's a Louisiana guy. The kids love him. I think they're really going to galvanize things there in the locker room and kind of play more to their potential. But still, they do have just some personnel issues offensively that have been holding them back. I am interested to see what they do at quarterback. There's an opportunity here to maybe actually play both guys and not just lean on Garrett Nussmeier. I think this could be a very exciting finish for LSU. They've got Alabama coming up after their bye week, of course. That's going to be very, very difficult. But LSU still has a lot of talent on this team, especially defensively. And I think that locker room is going to be a little bit more excited to play for their new interim coach rather than they did under Brian Kelly. You've already seen the reaction on social media among some former players that played for Brian Kelly and even some current guys just being really silent about the whole firing. Usually you see players coming out on social media just going, oh my goodness, I can't believe we lost our coach. You're not quite seeing that right now, and there's a reason for it. I think these Tigers are going to play their best football here down the stretch.
I would tend to agree. I mean, all you have to do is read some lips. You can see Brian Kelly ripping into everybody all season long. I don't think the players were endeared to like going out there and just putting all on the line for them. So maybe you're right. It'll be interesting too. Now that Joe Sloan has been let go too as the play caller, do they open up with some new, they have a bye week to implement some new schemes. You mentioned the possibility of playing a different quarterback as well as Garrett Nussmeier, who's really struggled behind an offensive line. I think this could be something to keep an eye out for, but I think now it goes to the coaching search. Like, what direction do they go? And they want to swing for the fences. The question is, do they get Lane Kiffin away from Ole Miss? Do they go Marcus Freeman? Do they get him away from Notre Dame? Or do they go somewhere off the radar and get somebody who maybe is an offensive coordinator? Because if you look at the 2021 cycle, there were a lot of coordinators who got head jobs and people scratched their head and said, I don't know if that's how it works.